What if the greatest teacher wasn't a mentor, a boss, or a book, but the dog sitting at your feet? What do you think? Next on the podcast. Let's do this.
Welcome to the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast, a podcast about a journey of discovery and conversations about not sitting on the sideline of life. Let's get involved. Here's host Joe Foley.
Welcome back to the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast. My name is Joe Foley. Thank you much for being here. Hey, if this is your first time, welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be joined by leadership coach, author Barbara Stone, whose book, So Much to Drool About, finds surprising wisdom in everyday lives of Great Danes. After 2 decades in corporate leadership, Barbara stepped away from the boredom into a new mission, helping people slow down, embrace change, and live with a sense of anticipation. What she calls living large. Her journey is packed with practical lessons in gratitude, courage, and gift of time, all told through the lens of dogs who remind her what really matters. In this conversation, Barbara opens up about her career, the story behind a book, and the simple habits that can help anyone find more presence and joy. So let's dive into the talk and discover how these gentle giants become their greatest teachers ever. Welcome to the podcast, Barbara.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
The cover of your book, I remember when I was doing the pre-stuff and all for the interview and stuff like that, but I love the cover of your book. Great Danes are really beautiful dogs, but I like the drool. The drool comes from the chin.
Well, when we were trying to design it and came up with the title, I was thinking about something really boring, like the Dane's tail. But I had a creative group around me and came up with So Much to Drool About. And then the second part of it got changed a little bit. But the whole thing about drooling is the anticipation of something good. They drool because they think something's going to happen, or food or whatever. And it's like, that's what life should really be about, is drooling over the anticipation of something good happening for us and through us.
It's interesting too, but talk a little bit about the dogs and stuff like that. I have fun. I enjoy watching videos with the dogs and how intelligent they actually are, and lessons we can learn from them ourselves and stuff like that. But I love it, especially with little kids. I can doom scroll with those little kids' videos with the dogs, because dogs are very intelligent.
Yeah, they are. And they're really present. They can be very real and they're in the moment. If they're hungry, they'll let you know. If they're sleepy, they'll let you know. If they want to sit on your lap, they'll let you know. If they want to go out, they'll let you know. They act in the moment. And it's like, what if we were to think about being in the moment a little bit more, just even 4% more, just think about how much more life we would be able to see. And I always say the Danes are living large, and it is our right to live large too.
One more video. I have to share this one because I think it's a great one. Is a guy who was playing hide and go seek with his Doberman, and he goes trying to go outside, put his blanket over his head. All of a sudden, the Doberman and literally pulled the guy by the back of his sweatshirt out the door. I'm like, that is awesome. That is one intelligent dog.
Yeah.
But one thing, and you said in dog inspired wisdom. What have you learned from your Great Danes? What are some things you learned?
So I think that when they walk into a room, they walk in there with their largeness. They walk in, you know that their presence is there. And it is a reminder for me, because honestly, I worked for 25 years as a senior leader in manufacturing in a manufacturing environment. And it's always like, I really had to almost be a little bit small. I mean, for me to really look good and get it right and be out there, it was like, you're not supposed to do that. So when I get my Danes, they're a reminder for me to live large, for me to live into what I need to be doing, live into what's the right thing for me to do and feel and be part of what's going on, because that's what they really want to be, part of everyone around them. When we have people come in, they're right there. So it's like they just want to be part and they want to be present and they want to be seen and heard. And that's what we all need to do.
You mentioned living large. What do you mean by that?
Like for them, I'm going after my Great Danes. And it's about they're large, they're a big dog. They walk in you know they're there. So when I'm saying living large, we need to be able to be present, to speak, to be able to express what we need to express and accept and be there and not live small. So many times you want to hide. We don't need to hide. We need to be able to stand into what we believe. What are our values? What are our purpose? And that's when we can live large. So I've learned that from these guys because they are big. People see them and they go, whoa, or like people come to the door to deliver packages. And if we're home, it's woof, woof, woof. But as soon as you open the door, you come in, they would knock you over with love. But initially, they are a little intimidating.
Well, it's definitely interesting too. And also, what lessons we can learn from the dogs and stuff is slowing down a little bit, focus presence over perfection.
Yeah.
That's one thing I was thinking about when you're talking about encouraging people to slow down, take your time and be present, especially as a dad myself. Sometimes we're busy, come home from commute, come home to make dinner. Next thing you know, it's take a few minutes. But sometimes just important to be present. So I wonder what your perspective on that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. They have shown me they just want to be part of us. When we go away or we come back and they just want to be by our side. They want to sleep on our bed. They want to sleep on our lap. But it's like just knowing that somebody is there and also being part of when again being present to what they need. And we need to be present to whom, as I have to be present to what they need, you as a dad and to your son, you need to be able to be present there. So you gotta get focused in. Yes, we could have a zillion things going on, but the one thing that's right in front of us is the presence, and it's whomever is right there. And they know that. They will go after that because they want to be with us.
It's interesting too when I was thinking about that being present sometimes, but I think we get a little bit to know ourselves too, being honest with ourselves and see where we fit in. Because sometimes we get in the midst of life, we get a little bit carried away and trying to find our way back to ourselves. And I think that's very important.
It's had a different personality. They have been through different things. So the stories that we've created have actually been applying to that particular dog's life because they're all different. Our first Dane was a rescue, and we rescued her at 1 year old. And I really don't know what she had gone through her first life, but I did know she spent most of her life in a crate for the first year. And here this big dog, and she was one of my smaller Danes. She was only about 110 pounds, but she lived in a crate most of the time because they had a 1-year-old child and she would knock him over accidentally. And then they had some smaller dogs that were constantly, they were at each other. So she lived for the first year in her life in that crate. And I'm going like, so she had to be dreaming. And one of her first stories is about dreaming about what life might be. And I've got the story that she's dreaming about what her parents might be. What if she had new owners? What would they be like? And that was us. And we came into her life and we opened up her door, and she was a rescue, but she had been a Great Dane that I've always wanted. And we just gave her open arms. But I think the story there is that as individuals, we need to dream, and we need to dream more. And what if we had the kids your son was able to dream? What if you could dream more? And we don't give ourselves permission anymore to do that.
Oh, it's just kind of interesting you mentioned that too. As we get older, they said one thing I remember, like around 5 years old, you stop doing that. But I remember reading something one time, or somebody told me, but I'm not quite sure on that one. But as an adult, we forget to play, get to dream and
Yes.
stuff like too. And how important is we may be busy with life, but take time to enjoy it and play around with things and learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, Joe, I had left work. I left my corporate job, started my business. It's gotten to be successful. And then I wanted to do this book. And now the book is like a whole nother business. And sometimes I forget that I got to slow down and enjoy life, because you're not going to get that moment back again. And for Jazz, she's not going to get her first year back. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to be able to give her the best life that we could when we did get her. But yes, we gotta slow down. Oh my gosh. You're speaking my story and my
Well,
message.
it's interesting thinking about that for a second, but being present and stuff like that. But learning, like playful time, it's like they say the biggest currency sometimes. People are worried about making money, which money is important. You got to pay the bills,
Yeah.
but you can't make up for time. And it's funny, as myself as a parent, I find that as I was going fast before I had my Sean, then all of a sudden I'm a parent goes, phew, goes even quicker. And I'm like, I time is more important than money.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Well, I had a client up north in Watertown, and I would go to the company and I would do training, and then I coached individually. And as I was driving up there for a training session in the afternoon, because it's an hour away, he called me and he says, Barb, where are you? I said, I'm halfway up there. He goes, I'm going to give you a gift. And I said, a gift? He said, yes, a gift of time. And I'm going
Nice.
like, oh, wow. And you know what? It really made me pause. It made me think about what I was going to do with that time. And so I turned around, went back to Syracuse, but then I called a friend of mine who was 90 years old, and I hadn't seen her because it was during COVID, right after COVID. So you know what I did was I decided I was going to go and see her for the afternoon and spend time with her, because I hadn't had one-on-one. So yes, the gift of time. What are we doing with this gift? That's how I see time.
You mentioned you worked in 20 years in corporate. How did you get involved in something like this? Because that is a big change.
Yes, yes, yes. So, as a youngin', you're told you need to go to school, climb ladders, make money. Go to school, climb ladders, make money. And I'm going like, I had worked myself up to being executive vice president, CFO. And then I'm going like, is this really what I want to do? And I took a little bit of a back step, but then I started working on me. I started studying resiliency, positive psychology, and then I got involved in a little bit of John Maxwell group that allowed me to get dabbled into coaching. And I started going, wow, this is really great. I really love this. But I also realized that I had been a coach all my life or in my career, but it also took me back. I'm first full generation American. My father was from Poland. My mother was born here, but her parents were from Poland. And I wished that I had, as a child or as a youngin', somebody to guide me, to make me feel I was okay, because our Polish culture was a little bit different than the normal American way. But I did fit in, but it was hard to fit in at times. So I wish that I had that coach, that guide, and that really helped me kickstart into doing this as a business. I thought I was going to be doing more life coach because that's what I wanted to do. But what happened was that business leaders found me, and then the training happened, and then I kept learning and learning. Then it's just taken off, and it's been a great experience to help people along the path and along the way.
Well, it was interesting too. I was like certified positive psychology, certification in positive psychology.
Yep.
And I'm just curious, what is a certified professional coactive coach? What does that mean? I was curious.
So what that means is I'm trained through the Coactive Institute, and I'm also ORSC certified organizational system relationship coach. Those two things they fall under the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, because what they try to do is they try to bring standards to the coach. So if you know that a coach, like I have a PCC, I'm a professional certified coach. That's through the ICF because I've done all this other training, but I also have the hours to support those credentials. And it's just to standardize so that you know what you're getting. If somebody says they're a PCC, they meet certain credentials and you'll be in good hands.
Well, it's interesting too. I know who your four-legged friends are probably the best certification. They
Yes.
taught you a lot. Seeing their life too is because dogs' life is the simplicity. They're just like you said. We talked about a few minutes ago how much they love and care for you, and you could do anything and they'll still love you to death and stuff like that. What wasn't like an aha moment when you realized your dogs were modeling life you wanted to live? Like what it like some experiences you had? You're like, oh wow, and realize how I can convert that to people.
One of the things, I have this joke that I tell people I want to come back as one of my dogs because they're taken care of. They got the life. But again, when they're tired, they sleep. When they're hungry, they'll eat. When they have to go potty, they go outside. When they want to go play, we take them to daycare. And it's just that they live the way they're living in the moments, and they're living in what they want to do. There's a zillion toys in their toy box, but they can play with what they want to when they want to. And we give them that freedom to do that. And so for me, it's just a reminder that I can live like that. I can play with what I want to when I want to. I can sleep sometimes when I want to, not always taking a nap, but I think the thing about it is we are a choice. They are a choice. Their choices are much simpler than ours. I wish, and I really think I yearn for the simpler days because life has gotten too complex. And for us humans, but they live that simple life. So it's a reminder of what are the really important things to us in life. I can see that through the eyes of the Great Danes.
What was interesting was you're talking about, I was thinking about, what do you think about playfulness and curiosity? Why do you think it's so hard for adults to hold on to? Because I think that like lessons of the Great Danes going to grab toys and stuff like that, their curiosity, their playfulness. Yeah. But as an adult, we lose that and we long for it sometimes too. And we watch the dogs going, man, I wish I was them.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I have always been a curious being, because when I grew up, we were always going and seeing things. And sometimes I'm too curious and I always want to try something. It's like I wrote the book and it's what's next. And I'm going to be going into schools and teaching and I'm speaking and I want to get the word out about this book. But I think that there's the curiosity is they're always looking to see who's at the door, who's here, and they'll let you know if they like that person or not. And myself as a coach, one of the things we really needed to learn as we're asking questions, because it's not about me telling you what to do. It's about me asking you questions and being curious. It's interesting that you've asked me that question because they are curious and I've been trained to be curious. And I wish that we can, as human beings, and I train leaders in listening skills, and it's part of listening, but it's also about curiosity. If we were like 5% more curious, we would not be fast pointing the fingers. We'd go, tell me more. What really happened here? We'd be listening and really opening up and getting to know the other person, because you know what? What's really important? We talked about time. The other piece is about the relationships.
That's what I was thinking about recently. We had a company meeting where I work, and they talk about the sales stuff and relationships, how important relationships are.
Yeah.
I know building the relationship over the time, we have work and stuff like that, and especially connection when there's problems, like building those relationships with. I'll give an example. We have engineers and area managers where I work, and they want their parts for stuff to fix the instruments and stuff. And if there's a problem with a shipment, problem with a part, building up those relationships over the years, and they know to come to me and we can solve the problem quicker. And those relationships are very important. I may not know everything, but I have those relationships with people. And if I'm in a jam, they help me out. And I was thinking of the same thing with parenting too, like my son, building those relationships now, building those things together right now, because I know when he gets older and gets a teenager, he's already given me the one word answers on the phone. How's your day? Fine. Nothing bad happened. But I want to build that relationship when he gets older, so come to me when he has problems.
Yeah. As you talk relationships, I work with I work for a women's business center. It's called the Wise Women's Business Center. That's one of my lanes of what I do. And one of the things I really try to get people to recognize the importance of relationships, because you never know who you're going to need. And it's a matter of, if you have that relationship, you will go to it. And I love to connect people, because I may not know everything, but what I would love to do is be able to connect people and myself to the right moment to be able to go and find those answers, because they will be able to help us. But one of the things that, as you started talking about building those relationships, one of the things, I've got a story in my book about the people that come on your bus and go off your bus during your lifetime. And I've got a picture of a school bus. And it's like people can come on for a certain period of time and then they go off, and then somebody else. And sometimes you can only have so many people on your bus. So it's like, who do you really want on your bus? Who are the people? And I wish like kids to really learn that bring the right people on your bus that are going to be there for you and with you along your journey.
It was interesting, the picture. I remember recently I saw a video it was a doggy daycare, and then I could picture Great Danes on it. The bus pulls up and whatever, the two dogs get on and gets on the bus, and all the rest of the dogs are there. And I could picture one of your Great Danes there when you were talking about the bus.
There's big dogs, small dogs, but and they just represent different people.
It's different too. What kind of feedback have you gotten from the book?
Oh my gosh, we had the official book launch on April 17th. It has been, people are picking up the book and they're looking at it and going, oh my gosh, and they'll just open it up to a story and they'll be inspired. And there is one story that I've gotten here, make this year your year. And one of my a caterer that I had at the party, and I've gotten to know her husband, and I knew he was another big wig in manufacturing. He worked for a German company and they were going to close it here in Syracuse. And he was struggling on what to do and what not to do, because he was like a second in command there. And he's just continuously kept taking different steps towards different jobs and different possibilities. And finally, one landed, and he opened up the book to making this your year. And he goes, Barb, this story is speaking to me because I'm going to make this year my year. I'm going to reflect on everything that I've been through. And then I'm going to make it my year, and I'm going to build on what I've done. So the feedback, everybody has just gone, oh my gosh, absolutely amazing. And it has been amazing. And honestly, I could not have asked for anything more. I've got speaking events, podcast events. I've got about 5, 6 book signing events. And it's been one of the things that I wanted to do with this book was I wanted to make a ripple effect in people's lives, to be able to get them to think and impact their lives. That's why I did this book. And it is just, I can't say enough good about the responses that I've gotten. So I'm very pleased with it.
One question I was interested in, I remember you did a TED Talk.
Yes.
And that takes courage. I
Yeah.
want to say that takes courage. And I don't say playfulness, but it takes courage to put
Yeah.
yourself out there
Yeah.
and try something different. How was that experience for you?
I don't know. I think the book was more difficult in a different way. So one of the things I've always done is I do dream. I think about, or I should say it's a curiosity. I want to try that. Oh, what would it be like for me to try that? So I had heard somebody put together a talk about what it's like to do a TEDx talk. And he talked about how it needed to go in 3 sections. I wrote it out. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, but I wasn't brave enough to be able to do it for almost 2 years. It sat. And finally, I went to a conference and I came back energized, and I decided I wanted to find a TEDx near me. And then I contacted them. The unfortunate part about it is they were full, but she goes, will you be my first for next year? So I was ready in 2023, but they were full. So I did it in 2024. And that was an amazing experience. When you think you can't do it, you can do it. That's the thing about the TEDx talk. That's the thing about the book. I would never have imagined, nor if I told that little girl that had gotten out of manufacturing 6 years ago that you would be doing a TEDx talk and a book, I'd say there's no way. So it's like dream. Think about the possibilities. Think about the curiosity that's going to really, what would you like to do? What if? What if you couldn't fail? I used to have a brick on my desk. It had a question mark on one side, and on the actual statement was, what would you do if you knew you could not fail?
Definitely interesting too. I saw the similar way, but it wasn't a TED Talk. I released my very first episode in 2013.
Yeah,
My
congrats.
next episode didn't come out to 2016
Um,
because I was so nervous. And ever since then, I've been publishing regularly, but it's sometimes taking a chance and throwing it out there. It's like
yes.
that. Throwing things. I always think of it as throwing things at the wall and see if it sticks. Doesn't stick? Oh, go to the next thing. But sometimes I think we lose that. And I think probably some of your lessons maybe learned from the dogs and stuff like that.
Yeah, but Joe, you learned. You tried it. And you know what? If that platform didn't work, maybe another platform, you experimented and you were curious to being able to see what might work.
And then you put yourself out there. And the people don't realize putting yourself out there in a TED Talk like that, dogs putting themselves out, they want attention from their owners and stuff. But putting yourself, you're taking a chance.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage,
Yeah.
of courage to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the name of my TED Talk was Looking Good and Getting It Right is Killing Our Souls. And, but the TEDx organization who can put their blessing on it changed it to Perfection is Overrated. So I'm going like, it's okay. I have a TEDx talk. You can call it whatever you want. But yeah, it's for me now that I've done it, and now even like the book, I've done the book. It was part of my journey. I needed to do it. There was a lot of learning, and I really encourage people to be curious and trying something new because you're going to learn so much. We are so afraid of trying different things because we're afraid of failing. You will not fail. There is no failure.
One thing I wanted to say is one of the thing of past guests, I didn't make this up, so I can't take credit for this.
Okay.
Starting dirty. In a sense, starting dirty.
Yes.
Stop messy. Do it. It may sound horrible, but
Yep.
start messy, start dirty, and see how it goes, and work from there, and build and make it better and improve. I think that's important in the do.
Yeah, I always talk to people about rolling. When I worked in manufacturing and looking for people, the education was not always my number one thing. What was really important was rolling up your sleeves, getting dirty, wanting to learn, be part of a team, and always remembering where your roots came from. And that was the person that I wanted to hire to be able to be on my team.
Definitely too. I think look, you could be the smartest guy in the world in a team, and he may not have the skills, interpersonal skills can really mess up a team.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 Because you're not going to have that culture. I go into companies now and I work on that because it's so needed. How are you going to treat somebody? How do you want to partner with somebody? How are you going to listen to somebody? How are you going to be curious? And those are the things that need to happen in today's culture to be able to move us forward.
You mentioned culture too. It's like also culture at home too. I think that's
Yeah.
important. You build that culture in the workforce. You have that culture. I always have one person who's always joking around and stuff, but it's important to have that relationships. But culture at home too, that positive stuff, because the kids don't need the negative stuff too. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I teach a leadership model, and the leadership model starts with yourself. And you need to know your values, your purpose, your strengths. Then there's the leader that's a visionary for where do you want to go. But we, as leaders in our jobs, are also the visionary for where we're at. And then I talk about leadership as a partner. When you're in the house, you are partnering with whomever is there and you're leading towards a vision because you need to be able to have that. And then the two other places are a leader as a coach, being curious, being a guide, asking powerful questions, listening skill. That's what's going to get you the closer relationships to the people in the house and in the company. But the last piece is to be a leader from a position of being aware of what's happening to you as you're walking in different situations, being aware of others as you are in that situation, but also be aware of what's happening in the environment, in the space, so that you can deal with that. So if we can all think about being leaders in what we're doing, we'll really be able to make a big impact to that culture.
Definitely too. And it's, you talk about that, it made me think about my son's soccer coach. Being a coach of 11, 12-year-old kids and a soccer can be really patience being tested.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch how the positive effect he has on the kids and stuff like that. And, the culture of the team. It's amazing because I see other coaches going, glad we had this guy. And a positive effect on some one person on 13 kids. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool to watch.
It is. It's amazing. And that's where a coach is really good about asking. It's not necessarily telling people what to do all the time, but asking, and what's it like to be able to work as a team and being able to rely upon the strengths of each individual. You can't do it all by yourself. You really need to be able to rely on that to be able to get to where you want to go and literally the goal from there.
Definitely, too. Ron, final thoughts. I'm interested. I want to ask a question. If somebody was listening today, feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, well, they've forgotten how to be, one small shift or mindset they could start trying today, what? And if you could still everything and you learn through your dog, parenting, coaching into one sentence or advice, what would it be?
I'm going to say at this point in time and where we are in the world, really being grateful for what we've got. And because what's happening in today's life, everybody wants something else that somebody else has got. And if you can be grateful and be present in the moments, that's going to take you a long way because then you're going to be at peace. And that's what we really need to be, a little bit more at peace with ourselves.
I agree. I totally agree on that one. Barbara, where they can find more about you and where they can connect you to find about your book?
You can go to barbstone.me, BARBSTONE.me. You'll find more about me, what I do, my work, but also you'll also see my TEDx talk on there, and you'll learn more about Drool. There's a tab for Drool to learn about just the book and where I'm showing up. And if you're interested in knowing more, please sign up for my newsletter and keep you abreast of just different tips, articles, and how we can help you through the eyes of the Great Danes, because that's what's really important.
Barbara, thank you much for being on the podcast tonight. All the links will be in the show notes for this episode. Thank you much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joseph. Thanks.
Big thanks to Barbara Stone for sharing her journey and the powerful lessons she learned from the Great Danes. From living lives of embracing curiosity, remind us the presence worth more than perfection and gratitude. It's this gratitude, shape the way we could lead, parent, and show for people we love. If you want to explore more about Barbara's work and her book, So Much to Drool About, and her TED Talk and her coaching resources, everything will be talked about be waiting for you in the show notes at nosittingonthesideline.com/169. You can find links to her website, her book, and extra resources to help you take those ideas and put them into action. Conversations like these are why I started the podcast. To help all of us, especially parents and busy professionals, remember this: the time is the one thing we can't earn back. Take a breath, be present, people matter, and don't be afraid to dream a little bigger than yesterday. Thank you for listening and being part of the community. And your support keeps the stories going, inspires me to keep showing up behind the mic. That's it for today's episode of the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast. Until next time, God bless. Take care. See ya.